Step right up, the fun begins.
Where all the magic spins.
For all the news and what's in store, the greatest show you can't ignore. It's the Miles of Fun Show. The Miles of Fun Show.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Miles of Fun Amusement Park News for March 19th, 2026, for the heartland of America. And we've got some interesting news for you all. So let me go ahead and get things started out. With... Well, no, let's not do that. Kind of forgot how I was doing this before. All right. Pardon the amateur stuff. I'm still getting some things worked out with how I used to do things on the internet and how I do them for this particular show. All right. So the biggest news of the week is we have JANA Partners. Now, I don't know how relevant this is necessarily to the Midwest and the Heartland, because, we don't have Six Flags around here anymore. I'm mostly kidding. But yes, JANA Partners, who pretty much pushed for the sale of the parks that happened last month, and was working with Travis Kelce to streamline Six Flags' portfolio, have now, I guess, put out a letter saying that Six Flags should explore sale, replace their board chair. This is from Reuters. Activist investor JANA Partners wants theme park operator Six Flags FUN to explore a sale and immediately appoint a new head of its board. Call for change comes just after the resort operator hired a new chief executive in less than a week after it appointed NFL star Travis Kelce as brand ambassador. In a letter addressed to Six Flags board, JANA cites concerns about the board's ability to deliver for shareholders and calls on the company to engage with buyers. It is now in the best interest of shareholders for the company to reverse course and engage with known buyer interest in Six Flags. The firm, one of the industry's busiest activist investors, also wrote that board leadership changes are needed. The company should appoint a new chair. Marilyn Spiegel was named chair of the board in January and has been a director since 2023. The company did not respond to requests for comment. It also suggested that the company could be an attractive acquisition target. Investors pushed Six Flags stock up nearly 20% on the news. Before JANA's stake was revealed, the company's stock price had tumbled to some 50% year to date as rainy weather kept visitors out of the parks and weighed on returns. While JANA has publicly expressed support for new CEO John Riley, it said in the letter that it wants to see a new board chair after months of private engagement raised concerns about the group's effectiveness. Quote, "We have witnessed an alarming pattern of board dysfunction and disjointed decision-making that has become impossible to ignore." Now, I'm not going to get too deeper into the other stuff because, it's just filler. But I agree. I totally agree. As a shareholder of Six Flags myself, it doesn't seem like they want to fix the problems. And it's basically leading them into more turmoil. It seems like they have this particular focus on the parks that are rewarding them for doing the wrong thing and just kind of letting that status quo roll. All right, all right. I just wanted to take a moment. Take a moment. I'm not big on Reddit, but I did notice there is a new subreddit out there. I don't know, maybe it's the old subreddit. Nope, created March 7th, 2026. There's a new subreddit out there, r/Mid America. So if you folks are fans of the Six Flags St. Louis Park that is being renamed Mid America, r/Mid America is for you folks who might be out there on Reddit. Your new home for specifically news on Six Flags St. Louis, Mid America Park by Enchanted Parks. Okay. Speaking of Mid America / Six Flags St. Louis, we're going to do a little bit of a social media roundup here in a few minutes, and well, actually, for the next few minutes, excuse me, we're going to do a little social media roundup. And Six Flags St. Louis posted some of their maintenance updates. Got an annual rehab on the River King Mine Train. Elmer Fudd weather balloons rehab. And park signage touch-ups and rehab. Polished floor at Coaster Candy. So they got it nice and shiny. Johnny Rockets also getting a polish. Nice and shiny. And they have show auditions happening. So you might see some of these folks in some summer shows. And that's going to be it for that. Enchanted Parks, the chain, over on social media, over on Facebook, are asking people whose home park is one of the Enchanted Park chain parks to comment on their social media post, asking the ride, the memory, or the moment that makes your home Enchanted Park unforgettable. They want to hear from you. And we're going to have more on sort of feedback to Enchanted Parks. We're going to talk a little bit more about that feedback a little bit later because, yeah, as you can see from the stream title and the thumbnail, we have some communication from the CEO, and we'll get into that here in just a little bit. Just a little bit. All right. That down. And then over on Worlds of Fun's social media, we got this. And I would like to talk about this for just a moment. In fact, let's talk about this for more than just sorry, that's for later. I would like to talk about this for more than just a moment. As here you have pictures of track section in a sort of lot area somewhere on the Worlds of Fun property. There's a little bit of debate on where this is on the Worlds of Fun property. You can see a wooden coaster hill in the background up there. And you can see Steelhawk. Now, Steelhawk is very large. You can pretty much see it from lots of places on the Worlds of Fun property. So then the question is, what's this roller coaster here? And the caption they posted with this photo, a package arrived exclamation point. Interesting drop off location though. Hmm. Now, here you have a line of trees and a gravel road and a lot area. I don't understand the tease about interesting drop off location though. There were some who immediately thought this might have something to do with whatever the heck is happening to the Timberwolf. But I think this coaster we're seeing here beyond the trees might be the Prowler. There were some issues last year with Prowler as Worlds of Fun announced they had installed some sections of Titan track. And after the installation of those sections of Titan track, there were some speed issues. And so let's go to this video from Coaster Visuals. Go to this video from Coaster Visuals. Okay. Music here. Okay, so we got some lift hill. This is a 2025 ride of the Prowler. Skip forward a little bit from the lift hill here. Okay, now we're going to come up over the hill. And as it gets to the bottom of the hill, we're going to hit some sections of Titan track. Boom. Okay. Now look, we're going to now pay attention to the speed we saw coming off the first hill. Okay. A little fast, a little rough. But then you hit here and it like gets super fast. See, there's the Titan track right there. Okay. And then you whip around this, whip around this. Now we're out of the Titan track. It's slowed down a little bit, but then you hit this curve. And as you hit that curve at that high speed, suddenly the ride gets a lot slower. It's a little harder to see on this video, but I experienced it myself several times last year. And later in the year, it got a little bit better. And I also noticed that when the trains were fuller, it wasn't as bad. So maybe the train was pretty full when he filmed this video. But that curve, that U curve, coming out of that Titan track, you come up here, this big U curve right there. It slowed way the heck down. About the mid course. I am hoping like heck. You notice all of these pieces of Titan track are curved and slightly banked. Well, no, I guess, yeah, curved and banked. I'm hoping that this Titan track will solve the issue of you come into that curve with speed and the concussiveness of that speed hitting that curve was causing the train to slow down. And I'm hoping that that's what this Titan track is meant to solve. I'm hoping they're going to replace the wood on that curve with steel so that it can handle the speed of the train coming up that hill and hitting that curve at higher speeds. And heck, that'd be a pretty cool whippy moment if you could maintain speed throughout that curve and into the next drop. Oops, sorry. Um, that's just my opinion. That's just my hopes. But ultimately, it's all just rumor and conjecture. We don't actually know for a fact anything about this track pieces. It could all just be speculation. This could be track pieces for Timberwolf. There were some people suggesting it might have been Titan track for Timberwolf, that they might be bringing back the upward helix at the end of Timberwolf. I'm not sure, but there's only so much I can speculate on that. So let's go to Silver Dollar City. Before I do though, Silver Dollar City's opening weekend was last weekend, and I really didn't cover that very much because I fail sometimes. My apologies to people whose home park is Silver Dollar City. I heard the crowds were great. There were a couple days this past week where it's pretty rainy down there. Um, so, shout out to everyone who's been able to go to Silver Dollar City. It looks like they got a lot of new awesome merch. A lot of people in the social media groups have been really talking about how awesome the new popcorn lanterns are. They look pretty interesting. I might have to snag one myself. So yeah, here in about a month when I go down to visit, I might be bringing back a popcorn lantern if I can, you know, if they're still available by then. They still have their spring sale going on. So if you're wanting to buy a 1 day admission, it's not that bad. You may have to get a date a couple weeks out. There's really only a small handful of dates at the $69 sale price right now, sort of between May and the end of the spring festival. So yeah, if you're looking to get 1 day, or you're looking to take the 1 day and turn it into a silver or gold pass, that's a real cheap way to handle that right now. Right now is a good time to do it during this sort of spring flash sale. But Silver Dollar City had its own news this week. We've been kind of seeing a lot of progress in the Silver Dollar City resort that they've been building. It originally had an estimated date for 2026, but we've learned that they've started putting billboards up stating that it's expected to open in 2027. Well, they finished off the capstone. Oh, you know what? I just realized you might not have audio. So let me do this. All right. So there you have it. Silver Dollar City Resort has been capped off with the final roof structure. Um, Sort of outside of my region, I did also want to sort of point out it's not one of the coasters in our region, but down at Six Flags Over Texas, just outside of my imaginary boundary here of 8 hours from Kansas City, which is what I try to cover on this show. Everything within 8 hours of Kansas City. Just outside of that is Six Flags Over Texas, and their big Tormenta Rampaging Run roller coaster, Giga Dive coaster. Well, they put the final bolt in as well this week. So we had two large construction projects finishing off. Pretty big news. And I guess Six Flags Over Texas, they also sort of started their operating season the past week. Spring break. A lot of parks are opening for spring break nationwide. And just one sort of note, if you do wind up going to Six Flags Over Texas for spring break, currently they do have a chaperone policy in effect. So don't try to send your children unsupervised to Six Flags Over Texas. They might not be able to get in. All right. So let's go. While we're in Branson, let's talk about this. We have the Branson Coaster, the mountain coaster, promoting on their social media that they now have a DJ nights that are starting tomorrow, March 20th. And so if you come right after dark, there'll be music and you can experience the track in a whole new way. If you haven't made it out yet, now is the time. So shout out to the Branson Coaster, Highway 76 in Branson, for coming up with some new unique events to draw more people out to Branson. All right, now let's jump up to Iowa as Arnold's Park have announced a partnership with Jensen Real Estate to offer free movies by the lake. So through the month of July, June, July, and August in the summer, if you want to take a trip to Arnold's Park, you can catch maybe the Minecraft movie, Zootopia, Wicked 2, How to Train Your Dragon 2025, Superman 2025, Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, and Elio in August. So there you have it. Arnold's Park, again, offering some events. Let's see. On up in Minnesota, we have Valley Fair unveiling some new marketing images. I'm not gonna lie. You see my shirt from the from Worlds of Fun's 2023 50th anniversary season. Well, this is going to be Valley Fair's 50th anniversary season, and so they're showing off some marketing stuff. You can go up there and get a shirt kind of like this, but with this image on it this year up at Valley Fair. I'm loving the classic logo down there. Gotta love that classic logo. Such a great image. Now, I don't know if this is AI generated or whatever, but it's great. It's great. I love it. I love it. All right. So let me do this. Since apparently I'm having some issues with my screen share. I'll bring that over there. Oh, let me make sure I'm okay. Yeah. Sorry. So there was a podcast that I happened to listen to earlier this week. The Coaster101.com podcast. And so big shout out to Coaster 101 podcast. I may let me go ahead and leave a comment on my own post, or actually here, I'll just edit. I'll just edit the description. And leave a link to the video and to coaster101.com because I definitely don't like taking people's content without a little heads up. And we're not going to be playing the whole interview, but I am going to be kind of jumping around here and trying to find important parts of the interview that are relevant to the things we want to see and talk about here on the channel. So let me go ahead and get into that.
Else, and I said, let's give it a shot. Ended up getting a salary job within Disney shortly there. And
so he's talking about his history.
The legalese. I'm by no means a legal expert here. This is Six Flags has divested. They've sold to EPR, and Enchanted Parks is going to be kind of the management, the operations side. How did the partnership between EPR and Enchanted Parks kind of come
This is interesting to me.
Right when we first did the water safari deal back in 24, we did a little bit of a dating at the IAPA show where I got to meet some of their key employees and kind of talk about my philosophy to parks, and they kind of talked to me about their philosophy and for investment. It aligned. We were aligned in our strategies and our core values.
So they were already kind of doing the deal for water safari, and yeah, they just kept going from there.
So this is a long-term agreement we have with them. We put up part of the capital to do the transaction, and then we work together.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to skip forward a little bit and get the.
We're, EPR is very well known in the industry. That this was a little bit more public.
By the way, shout out to EPR. EPR being a local company in Kansas City, doing this deal, putting up the money, making sure that these amusement parks stay amusement parks.
For them, they do a lot of work with like Topgolf is one of their main tenants. Nobody would ever think like I walk into Topgolf that EPR owns that. They own all the real estate and the buildings of
St. Louis.
Skip forward here.
The people who have been born and raised.
Yeah. Okay. So this next question is important to me.
And the 6 parks that Enchanted Parks is going to manage. They're going to manage are Worlds of Fun, Michigan's Adventure, Valley Fair, Six Flags St. Louis, Great Escape, Schlitterbahn Galveston. When you were kind of figuring out with these parks, why was it those 6 parks? And why was now the right time to kind of get in on the ground level at these places?
Our goal was, I'd say the 6 parks were presented to us, or a handful of parks were presented to us. I'll say it that way. Mm-hmm. They were presented to us. There was a little bit of negotiation back and forth on it, but I think in the general sense is that we were looking for profitable parks. It's always hard to buy a park that loses money. So, because usually these things are bought on what they call an EBITDA multiple. So you take how much money it makes and then you multiply that by a number.
Okay, I'm going to stop him right there because he's going to get into, business speak that basically he's saying he wants parks that make money. There was a little bit of a negotiation, but basically for the most part, these were the parks that were presented in the negotiations from Six Flags. He's going to go on to say that, the time was right.
That's kind of how you start with a price to buy a park or sell a park at that point. When it's a negative number, it gets interesting. Like, how do are you going to pay me to take the park, or how do you do that? So, these parks these were all earners. They were doing well, but they were also kind of below the key threshold that Six Flags that generates the majority of Six Flags EBITDA.
Yeah. So basically, as we've said several times already on this channel, on this very young channel with only 4 videos here, as I've said several times, Six Flags wanted to care about their biggest parks because they were so far into debt that they needed the biggest money makers, whereas EPR and Enchanted feel like they can come in and increase the amount of revenue these smaller parks are generating to create just enough profit to handle what they need to handle here. I'm going to skip forward just a little
The
more
weather
here.
patterns with that spread out. So that was one of the things we really liked.
Oh, hang on. Let me
one of the
go
things
back
that
just
we
a
were
little more. I
excited
want to hear
about
the
that we
question.
have, it's a nice
portfolio parks that
we were very excited
Okay, here we
about.
go.
for sure. How do you feel like the 6 parks that you're going to manage, they complement your existing park portfolio of Water Safari and Diggerland?
I love this.
I think it's a nice geographic set for us. One of the things that we were excited about, that we have, Great Escape and Old Forge are very close to each other, only about 2 hours away. And then, but it also kind of, we have a little bit in Michigan, and we have that northern section there. Then we have the center of the country, and then we have down in Texas. So we kind of get a variance on weather patterns with that spread out. So
he likes the diversity of the geography.
I think in general, we think Diggerland is a great concept. For kids, it's one of the most unique concepts out there, and we think there's opportunities for us to expand that brand throughout the country. And these are great opportunities potentially to bring that product to maybe the center of the country.
Now, I don't know about y'all, but to me, it kind of sounds like James Harhey just hinted that Worlds of Fun might get a mini Diggerland. I don't know, but that's really kind of what it sounded like. Like he wanted to bring Diggerland to the middle of the country, and this might be a good opportunity to do so. Again, rumors, speculation, but it sounded a whole lot like CEO James Harhey just hinted that either Mid-America, Worlds of Fun, Valley Fair, one of these parks sort of in the middle of the country might be getting a Diggerland.
But we also think it's an opportunity. People like Diggerland is probably our unique asset, that it is a park that people will travel to. It's probably the only destination of the park. It's probably our smallest park, but it's probably our one destination park, where most of these other parks are more regional. But we get people that fly in from California, from all over the country, just to experience that park because of the uniqueness of it.
Yeah, it's kind of that touch a truck concept, but on a
much
totally
bigger. Yeah.
I love it. You mentioned the proximity of Water Safari and Great Escape. Is there? I mean, we could be talking too far in advance here. Is there a plan for those 2 parks, kind of given their proximity, to kind of work together on a package deal or anything like that?
So this was one of my big ponderings is, a lot of people come from the Six Flags chain. A lot of these your customers are coming from the Six Flags chain, where you had this all parks pass, where you had this sort of overlap of customers that were able to travel to your other parks and just automatically receive admission or have package deals or be able to share a food plan between the parks. And sort of there's been this question as to whether there would be some sort of reciprocal or some sort of package plan or some sort of all park pass for Enchanted Parks. And he's asking him particularly about the New Jersey parks but I think his answer is kind of interesting as a customer of Six Flags. Uh, After the whole all parks passport stuff, I find the conversation interesting. So let's hear his answer.
No, absolutely. I mean, you'll be seeing, this season's kind of baked in at this point, so we're not going to be doing much with our season pass for 26. We're just going to kind of continue status quo. But, we think that there'll be some, definite, cross attendance in our parks. Even Kansas City, St. Louis, we consider those two kind of parks joined together in that region in Missouri.
I really wish he would have added Valley Fair to that, because Valley Fair really isn't a far drive from either Kansas City or St. Louis. And I kind of would like to think of those three parks as kind of brother sister parks to some degree. But again, not everyone would agree with me, and especially James Harhey.
That the people are going to be going back and forth between that, so we can have some overlap there. So I think that's our general concept, and then we plan on we'll have some more announcements later, but I think you'll see a revamp on the season pass program that our consumer will appreciate.
Okay. I want to talk kind of about these six parks.
I'm impressed.
I know you gave an interview recently to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
Oh, this is what pissed me
Six
off.
Flags St. Louis going to be kind of the crown jewel of the chain a little bit.
Yeah.
But what specific potential do you see in each of these six parks? I'll start with Worlds of Fun. What do you see as kind of the biggest potential there?
Okay, I'm going to stop that right there, because he's about to poke the bear with me, right? Which I actually myself had already contacted Enchanted Parks and kind of asked them this question. And they gave me a pretty similar answer to what you're about to hear. But let's go ahead and hear it from James.
They had some of the Worlds of Fun fans had a little envy of my crown jewel statement on St. Louis, that they all have upside opportunity.
Yeah, I'm a little
what we
envious.
look at is that each of these parks, we feel with the right attention, pricing strategies, can go back up. They've all had declining attendance for the past few years, and we feel there's opportunities with the right programming, right pricing, and that we can get people to come back to these parks. And as you get people to come back, then that makes it a lot easier to buy attractions. And it's a little bit of a, and we have some opportunities if we have to nudge people along to buy attractions, if we have to buy attractions to get them there. But I think I tell my employees all the time, if you're not growing, you're dying as a company. So we want to get these parks back into growth mode, so that people are excited to come there. We can get attendance numbers up.
Okay, so that's the first half. And let me kind of address a little bit what he said about Worlds of Fun fans being a little envious of St. Louis, of Mid America. Look, yeah, I'll admit there's a little something, right? Because for years, us at Worlds of Fun, we were kind of used to being, I don't want to say spoiled, because it's not like Worlds of Fun has been treated really well. But for the most part, Cedar Fair seemed like they cared a little bit. Granted, Cedar Point and Kings Island and Knott's Berry Farm really got more attention. But for the most part, Cedar Fair treated Worlds of Fun okay. We wouldn't have gotten Zambezi Zinger had that not been the case. Whereas Six Flags St. Louis has been pretty neglected by the Six Flags chain for a long time. And we just saw Six Flags America close. We're going to see California's Great America close soon. And there were a lot of rumors that the same was going to happen to Six Flags St. Louis. I'm glad that wasn't the case. I'm glad they got bought, and I'm glad that they're getting attention. They deserve the attention. So, yeah, I'm a little envious. I would like new stuff at my local park. But, hey, anything in the Midwest region happening, I'm loving it. Anything in the heart of America region, I'm loving it. So, yes, if Six Flags St. Louis, Mid America Park, gets a bunch of love, gets some new rides, and gets some attention from Enchanted Parks, that's only a good thing because they've been neglected for far too long. And hey, congratulations, all you roller coaster fans in St. Louis. I'm glad to see y'all getting some love. We in Kansas City, we just got some love back in 2023. We just got Mamba painted last year. Uh, I hope y'all in St. Louis get a bunch of love, and I look forward to traveling to St. Louis a few times every year and feel some of that love too. Anyway, let's hear the other half of his conversation here about uh, evaluating these parks and the attractions.
And then that helps everything kind of, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy if we can get to those levels.
Got it. And I know, again, you're coming in right now. The parks, as you said, 2026 is kind of baked in. I feel like a lot of these parks and most parks around the country, they've kind of got a long-term plan, a 5-year roadmap. Are you taking their Google Maps directions, or are you coming in with your own route? How are you kind of taking on that 5-year plan that may or may not exist at these parks?
We did an analysis on the ride infrastructure is what we did a lot of our work in the past 3 months, is really inspecting the rides, understanding what works, what doesn't work, trying to make sure that we can get ride up times and consistency on ride up times improved for 26.
I love
That's
it.
one of our big initiatives. And then the way I look at it is if I was talking to the employees last week. I went to Great Escape, Michigan, and Kansas City all last week. And what I explained to them is, I've walked these parks in the snow.
Welcome,
It
James.
wasn't snowing too much this past week, but I've walked them all at some level. And for me to understand what this park really is, when I tell them you got to put the water on, you got to put the water in the pools, you got to get the roller coasters moving, and there's just a magic that happens at that point. I said our focus this year is really to understand what the consumer wants and what our employees are telling us on how to do it, and then our plan 26 is a learning year, and then 27 will develop that 5-year plan. Like we have tranches of money available to do attractions, things like that. But our focus is, it would be really silly for me to announce a new coaster here or there when I don't know if that's what we really need. It really is a matter of, yes, I've had a lot of people who are very expressly on social media told me all the things they would do on their roller coaster tycoon imagination. But I think
Some shade being thrown at roller coaster tycoon fans. But essentially, what he's saying is yeah, they've still got a lot of learning to do about these parks. Like he himself, he was saying that this is his first visit to some of these parks. He went when it was cold. He went while they were closed. They haven't been open yet, and he kind of wants to see. And he go later in the podcast. He kind of goes into a little bit about his love for amusement parks and how he can't wait to come to the parks while they're open and see the smiling faces of people, see the smiling faces of employees, and talked a little bit about the employees. He goes on to talk a little bit about his daughter working the Dippin' Dots stand. Which shout out to the daughter working the Dippin' Dots stand. Here for the past 3 years, I've mocked people for saying they had inside information and saying, yeah, it was the Dippin' Dots cashier, wasn't it? Well, imagine if imagine if you got in close with the Dippin' Dots cashier and it wound up being the daughter of the CEO and you learned all kinds of secrets from him. Be kind of crazy.
at the end of the day, it's really a matter of, taking that feedback, but also seeing what the guests actually do in the park. What lines do we have that are too long? What lines aren't long at all?
Okay, so that right there scared me. What lines are too long and what lines aren't long at all? Because some of my favorite rides are the rides no one else is riding. At a lot of these parks, I love an empty ride. I love the Zen rides. And it scares me that some of my favorite rides might be going away from St. Louis and Kansas City and Minnesota.
What do we have? What do we need? What's the guest telling us they want? What kind of attractions? Is it family? Is it thrill? Is it water? Those are all different, big buckets and a lot of different attractions in each one of those buckets. So that's what we're going to focus on in 26 is really understanding what the consumer wants and then try to answer those questions in 27, 28.
I got it. You've got a background on the water park side. You started as a lifeguard. You've managed through IAM a lot of water parks. Obviously, all of these parks have pretty fantastic water parks in their own right. Do you think it's going to be especially in those first years, is it going to be a toss up of like, do we want to focus on the water park? Do we want to focus on the dry park? Or is it very much a case by case basis? We're like I said, take that year 2026, figure out what's needed and go from there.
Okay, I'm gonna. Because again, he talks a little bit about himself, talks a little bit about his daughter, and yeah, I thought I saw Worlds of Fun there. Oh yeah, okay, so here we go.
There have been ongoing conversations regarding the IP that's existing in the parks.
So this is where he asks him essentially about the DC Comics, Looney Tunes, and Peanuts IPs and the ongoing conversations. He's kind of required to dodge the question, but I do like that he was able to give actually a pretty complete answer.
Again, 2026 happens. The licensing agreement goes through the end of this year. Can you shed a little light on kind of how those conversations with the IP stakeholders have been going, and if there's, positive or neutral direction on any of that?
When you're in contract negotiations, you gotta keep certain things close to the vest. All I'll say is that there's a desire by all parties of the licensees and by Enchanted Parks to have long-term relationships. So we need to get through a couple of hurdles and develop our own relationship with both IPs. And it's very important to the Schultz and Sony from the Peanuts product that we can make sure that we're the right operator for them. We have to prove ourselves. We're brand stewards. The same thing for Warner Brothers. We need to prove to Warner Brothers that we're gonna respect their brand and we're gonna be good stewards of it, so that so they'll be happy that we're displaying their product at a certain level. So I think 26 is a lot of learning more about each other as we build a foundation to go forward.
All right, so no need to consider Justice League dead just yet, and no need to be scared that Valley Fair might be losing Snoopy just yet. So there we go. We got that. All right. Now let me skip forward here a little bit more. Okay. They asked about future holiday events. He said they're definitely going to be having the Halloween events this year. But as far as other holiday events, they'll have to see what the cost versus demand is going to be. He talks about the short transition he's got. There was something he said
focus
here.
On the opening. I think our goal right now is, once I told everybody I look at it very simple: clean, safe, fun. That's all I want.
There we go. Clean, safe, fun.
It needs to be clean, needs to be safe, and needs to be fun. If we can do those three things, everything else kind of works itself out. So our goal right now is just to get that message to our employees. And even when I was at each park last week, I told them all, I said, the number one focus right now is not to worry about what James wants, what Six Flags wants. It's to get the park open on time. That's your North Star. So we have to continue going that way, and nothing can block you from that. If I'm blocking you from that, you need to tell me so I can get out of the way. And that's primarily what we're working on right now is, even when these parks open up, luckily we're only open up on weekends for a couple of weeks until we get closer to the summer. so we can get it open and we continue some of our transition stuff. There's just a lot of, honestly, the part that we're most focused on is technology. We're going from the Six Flags proprietary tech stack to our own tech stack on that point, when it comes to point of sales, when it comes to ticketing, when it comes to mobile ordering, all those type of things that we do. We've got to flip that pretty quickly.
They're literally trying to swap out all the tech at the parks in the next month. Now, mind you, as far as I'm aware, the sale isn't finalized and closed yet. EPR and Enchanted Parks don't actually own these parks yet. These are still Six Flags parks, from what I understand, and unless there's been news I'm not aware of. I thought the sale usually takes like 30 days. It was announced on the 5th. Now, where those negotiations started, I don't know. I guess they could be closed by now. I don't know. But he's trying to swap out all the tech by opening. What a huge hurdle to overcome to try to ditch Six Flags' tech and introduce their own this quickly. Good luck.
And that's the stuff that I'm working on primarily, but I'm trying to keep it out of my operating team so they can get the kitchen ready, they can get everything else ready, and then we'll come in and do some training as we get closer to opening, and hopefully make their life and our guest life less friction is our goal.
Yep. And you mentioned the tech coming in. You guys are working with Whitewater and their Vantage. Looks like the graphics I've seen see some kind of wristbands, some frictionless payments, things like that. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the decision to go with Vantage and Whitewater for this new technology?
Yeah, I've been working with Vantage personally for about 7 years now.
Okay, we talked a little bit about that last
develop
week.
that product from the initial. We were one of their initial beta sites when we first started, and I feel like they've really gotten to where they need to be at this point. Our goal is that the guests can move around the park, do what they need to do, and anytime that you're having stress in the park is a bad opinion to me. So we think their tech will help us out a lot. There might be some
Okay, gonna be moving a little forward. They talk there might be some RFID. So yeah.
But we stress.
So they're saying he goes on to say that their app might not be out until after Memorial Day. So we're gonna have some time at the parks without their app. Oh yeah, here's what I wanted to.
Five-week and 60-day runway here. What are you most excited for over that next time period?
I want to ride some rides. I some of these parks I've never been to, and there's some rides in there that I've never ridden before. So my excitement is I want to get on there and ride the rides and experience them.
Heck yeah,
that's part of
part of
the whole.
That's what I would want also if I was CEO.
I look forward to seeing our smiling guests and our smiling employees. And
yeah, if I was him, I'd be like, okay, I want to ride Mr. Freeze on Monday, Mamba on Tuesday, and Wild Thing on Wednesday.
And experience those rides with them. I'm the type of guy where I'll be riding.
Even if the parks aren't open. I realize how dumb that was of me to say. Maybe Memorial Weekend, do it Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
A ride could be right next to somebody, and they'll probably have no idea that I'm riding a ride with them. And then I'll get off and I'll be
watching.
But that's probably the thing I'm looking forward to the most.
I know what you look like, James.
My kids are very excited. They have 2 teenage daughters, and they have every summer we spend a week at a park, and they have to work the park.
There we go. Here's where he's talking about his daughter doing the. Wait.
Social media comment people make. And I've been honestly running the Facebook Messenger I've been answering all the questions personally to people just so
I
I
didn't
can
realize I was talking to James when I sent the Facebook. Well, cool. Okay, here we go. This was the last important thing I wanted to play on here before I wrapped up.
Plan question. Also, I think we did a bad job explaining in the press release is that we're still working through that meal plan question.
Meal plan.
And that if we can't figure it out, we're still working. Like I said, we're still working through. I got to jump on an IT call here in a couple minutes to kind of talk about that. But if there's anything we can't deliver, there will be 100% refund to our guests. We're not. I think the $10 credit kind of confused people. We're not going to give you a $10 credit and say, oh, by the way, your meal plan doesn't work. That's not what we're going to do. If we can't get the meal plan or something else working, and just because of these IT changes, we're going to issue 100% refund to every family, every bot holder, everybody that bought a pass or bought a thing like that. We're going to take care of them. So I just want to get that message out there as well.
Okay, so we want to take care of them, but we'll also give a refund. For me, as someone who was sold the idea that I can buy a pass that gets me into 40 amusement parks under the Six Flags banner, and then sold that I could have an add-on that could get me 2 meals at any of these 40 properties throughout the country. But also the fact that one of these parks is my home park. And so I got to be able to go there and get 2 meals on a regular basis, but also be able to travel to these other parks and get 2 meals so that I'm not spending a bunch of extra money while I'm traveling. These were sort of the 2 value added benefits of the meal plan add on as sold to us by Six Flags. We did not have any expectation that purchasing this, and all day long you could say subject to change, right? That's the fine print on anything you buy from anywhere, is that it's subject to change. Services are subject to change, but we're talking about customer expectations here. And the expectation is that I go to Worlds of Fun, I get 2 meals. I go to St. Louis, I get 2 meals. I go to Six Flags Over Texas, I get 2 meals. I go to Knott's Berry Farm in California, I get 2 meals. A refund doesn't fix that. A refund doesn't make that whole. The only thing that makes that whole is allowing me to keep my all parks meal plan for Six Flags, and then whatever Enchanted Parks is going to have that might be an equivalent for Enchanted Parks is to have that too. If they won't talk to each other, if the tech doesn't work to loop in the Six Flags meal plan people into whatever the meal plan menu thing is going to be at Enchanted Parks, then the people who've made that purchase have to have access to both. I personally have been having issues trying to purchase the meal plan. I'm going to try to contact Six Flags and see if I can't get that worked out. I fully expect them to tell me, yeah, we can't do anything about it. You'll have to contact Enchanted Parks. I don't know. We're in uncharted territory. I don't even know. I don't know who's running the social media for Worlds of Fun. I don't know if it's the same people running the social media for Enchanted Parks. I don't know if it's Six Flags people. I don't know if it's local Worlds of Fun people at the park, and whether their direct supervision comes from both companies. I don't know. But I do know that I'm having some serious issues. Here we are 2 years in to the Cedar Point Six Flags merger, and their tech doesn't even talk to itself like it's supposed to. I hear all kinds of conflicted reports all the time from people with Six Flags passes saying, oh, well, I had to activate my pass before I could use it at this other park. And then other people saying, no, I just had to enter it online. It said it was already activated. And then I hear other people saying their drink plan's not working at this park. I heard some people saying that their Prestige Pass worked to get them parking, or their Gold Pass worked to get them parking at Knott's Berry Farm, the one park that doesn't include parking in their pass. And other people saying it doesn't work. I mean, there's all kinds of conflicting information on the way these all parks passes and all parks add-ons have been working just within the Six Flags Cedar Fair merger. And now you have this other company coming in and taking a subset of both original chains and spinning off something new and trying to make it work different while also giving us, the customer, exactly what we expect. A refund doesn't fix that. A refund doesn't give us the peace of mind that the purchase we made to be able to travel, experience 40 parks, eat at 40 parks, and have 2 meals without having to whip out our credit card constantly. That's a pretty big peace of mind experience that I think everyone at St. Louis, everyone in Michigan, everyone in Minneapolis, and even New Jersey and Kansas City expect. Hopefully they get that shit figured out. And my software's not working right. There we go. We'll do that. All right, I'm going to kind of wrap this up. Let me do a quick skim here and make sure. Okay, yeah. In fact, that podcast pretty much ended after that. So big shout out to James Harhey. Thank you thank you to Coaster 101 podcast. That was amazing. I feel like I should have tried to ask to see if I could get an interview, but quite frankly, Coaster 101 did a better job than I would have done. So I'm glad they did that, and I'm glad that there is some outreach, because it's like pulling teeth trying to get information out of Six Flags, and this Enchanted Parks seem to care more about the small park experience, and they seem to care more about their public relations than Six Flags ever did. And I was just talking last week about how there's no updates on any construction stuff for Worlds of Fun, and now boom, we get a picture of Titan Track and an update on my favorite roller coaster, Prowler. And so, yeah, I don't know if that's Enchanted Parks is doing, but thank you so much. And thank you, the viewer. Thank you for stopping in to Miles of Fun. It's been a good one. I really like the news I'm hearing out of all of our Midwest parks. I really wish Lost Island did their weekly update on the testing that their maintenance department is doing. Cute stuff. I always love seeing those posts every week. Magic Springs, Adventureland, I love them all. So stay tuned. Tune back in this time next week, Thursday. Until then, click that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications to know when I'm going to be on again. And I'll see you next week here on Miles of Fun, Heartland Amusement News. Catch you then. Have a wonderful weekend, folks, and keep your hands, feet, arms, and legs inside the ride at all times. Have a wonderful day.